Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of Steelers Stat Geek Q&A edition. Here we go once again, second show of the night with Dave Schofield, deputy editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, along with his big brother, Rich. Rich, you having fun yet?
I'm always having fun when we're talking Steeler football.
Yes, here we go. So I'm hoping that people from the live chat last time find their way in here again, because we had some discussion going on about the draft. We had some questions going on about the draft. If you have a specific question you want to ask, you can use the super chat feature. We will definitely bring it up. I am going to tell you this right now. Hold on to it for a minute. I'm going to get to reading what everyone else says here as soon as you and I answer this question. Then I want to see everybody's answers. So I'll let you know at what point we'll be able to do it and bring it up here. So we're going draft. We're talking about the draft. We are 9 days away. 9 times you have to go to bed before you know what's going on in the NFL draft. So here we are. We'll at least have another show to talk about it right beforehand. But what are you looking forward to the most with the upcoming draft?
Okay. 2 things.
Okay.
I'm doing 2. All right.
That's a Dave answer. That's okay.
Well, I'm going to do it just in general.
Yes.
And then I'm going to talk about the Steelers.
Okay.
Right? So just in general, I'm looking forward to having something real in sports.
There you go.
Because sitting around watching these, NASCAR and IndyCar drivers driving video game stuff just isn't doing it for me.
Gotcha.
Then just looking forward to that. Now, in terms of the Steelers, what am I looking forward to for the Steelers? I'm looking forward to exactly what I've talked about the past couple weeks, and that is the fact that I don't feel the Steelers are going to have to reach for a position with their first draft pick in the second round. They're going to be able to potentially go what they feel is best player available. I feel that's how we as the Steelers draft the best, when we're able to do that. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely. I love it. That's a great answer. You ready for my answer? I am looking forward to knowing who the players are I can fall in love with. Too many people, when you're doing the draft research, you have these people, I want the Steelers to draft this person. I really wish they would pick up somebody. I really want this guy. Brian had someone. I'm trying to remember who it was.
Well, that's what Tony.
It might have been Ryan. Might have been Ryan Kellerman. Said it in the live chat in Brian's show last night. If the Steelers don't get Dobbins, I'm going to have to find a bridge to jump off of. And I know he was joking. I don't want to joke around those things. I told him, make sure you're getting some more life insurance, because not that I was totally knocking the pick, because I'm not. Because honestly, if he's there, I'm okay if they make that pick.
Sure.
My thing is, there's so many people that the Steelers could take. You're thinking about who it could be. Yeah, Brian said, yep, it was him. I don't want to fall in love with someone only for him to get drafted 10 picks before the Steelers and be playing for the friggin' Bengals or something like that. I want to know what player I can truly fall in love with because they're going to be in black and gold. That's what I can't wait for the most. Last year, it was kind of a different year because, I was doing all I could to set up for the disappointment that we weren't going to get Devin Bush, that we weren't going to trade up or anything like that. Some places had him falling to 20. I thought they were crazy. I thought he was more of a top 10 pick, at least top 15. And I'm like, so I didn't want to fall in love with the pick. Then the Steelers did it. And I'm like, I would have been okay to be all gushy about it before the fact. But now I know he's a Steeler, and now I know that I can cheer for him no matter what. Because there's nothing worse than having a guy you really think the Steelers should take. Either he goes before the Steelers pick, or the Steelers don't go in that direction. And then you got to watch that player that you thought you were going to love for the next several years playing in a different uniform. I hate that. I try not to fall in love with anybody for the draft for that exact reason. I want to know who I can fall in love with because they're playing for my team. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because that's the danger. If you fall too much in love with a specific player, you're we were talking lots of odds in the last show. The odds of that player falling to your team, especially when you're talking about us picking down at 49, odds of us getting a specific player at 49 are low.
Yeah.
For you to fall in love with somebody, hope that he's still there at 49, and then us actually pick him at 49, those odds are low.
Yeah.
So if you do that, and that's what that story I was telling you about that Tony had up, I was reading on the site today, was totally about, he was in love with 2 running backs, and I think the Patriots picked in front of us and took one, and he was like, great, of course, the other one's still there, and it's the one I wanted anyway, and then the Steelers didn't pick him.
Yeah.
Yeah, just total bummer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. With the further down you pick, the more difficult it is to figure out. If you're the Washington Redskins, you're falling in love with 1 or 2 players right now because you're the second pick, and you're really hoping that it's why cannot remember Chase's last, is it Chase Young, right? From Ohio State, that they're hoping Burrow goes 1. That's who they have at 2. Easy pick. Everyone can fall in love with him. But even picking at number 2, you're just not sure. You're not sure. So last year when the Steelers were picking 20, I was like, this is impossible. Everyone was falling in love with Devin Bush. I'm like, he's not going to be there. I don't know if they can make the move to get him. I'm so glad they did. So instead, but what's crazy was the guy that, when I did my mock draft with Brian and Tony on their show last year, the guy that I had at 20, I thought might go 2 picks ahead of the Steelers. And I'm like, I don't want to fall in love with him too much because he might go right in front of him. He went to top 5. He was the shocker that the Raiders picked that no one saw coming.
Oh, yeah.
Clelin Ferrell. So that's why I don't fall in love with anyone in particular. And honestly, that's part of the reason. I'm going to admit to it now. For those of you that know that I'm like, people that think the Steelers have to go running back, I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And that's part of the reason, is because I don't want to fall in love with any player like that, because then they're not going to be available. I think they're going to have some options. Honestly, if it's not one of the top 3 running backs, I really don't want them taking running back. I know Wes had them taking running back that was like the number 4 guy from LSU. I don't know. To me, I feel like if you're not getting one of those other guys, I almost feel like
when you're diving into and again, it all depends on. I want to say this, and it's not a blanket statement because it doesn't always hold true that way. But if you're picking a 49 and you're going to the 4th guy on the depth chart by that point, couldn't you get somebody who's higher up in a different position? But again, it also depends how you're ranking out positions and things like that. So that's not a blanket statement, but it is something that you have to stop and think, wow.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I've been doing is I've been having a blast with the one article that Jeff did that had the mock draft simulator. I was having a
by the way, fun. Wes corrected you in the live chat.
What's that?
He corrected you in the live chat.
Oh, it was from Florida State. Yeah. I was thinking it was no. One of the other guys did the LSU guy, didn't it? Was it Tony or something? I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, I knew it was a running back. It was one of those guys. Thanks, Wes. Yeah, Cam Akers from FSU. Honestly, you might know more about that. I'm not big on that pick. So, and people want to know about my top 3 running back. It's not even that they're mine. Everything that I've heard is in whichever order you want. Swift, Taylor, and Dobbins were the top 3 that I've seen, kind of, not, like I said, in no particular order. And I don't know that any of those are going to be there. And if it's not them, I think there's going to be high quality players otherwise. And like I said, I was running this draft simulator. I couldn't believe it. I got in like 4 of them I took screenshots of, 3 of them I didn't. Some of them I got partway through. I actually wrote about this in an article of something that was really tough. Is I got partway through and realized I only had 2 picks left, and there were still 3 positions I was wanting to take. which made it really tough. The one draft I got partway through, there was a tight end I really liked, the tight end out of Dayton, Troutman. He was available in round 3. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take him just because he's here. Then I realized, wow, I'm going to be missing something else that I need. Then there was one, I'm like, you know what? If they really want the Steelers to take Hurts, I'll take him in the 3rd round. One time he showed up there. I'm like, just to see how it would play out. Didn't like at all how that draft played out. I did one time take did I say I did take Dobbins in one draft when he was there, which was crazy. No, it wasn't Dobbins, it was Taylor. That I did. Believe it or not, on most of mine, I ended up taking defense because, believe it or not, they had Patrick Queen, the inside linebacker at LSU, falling all the way to the Steelers. I'm like, if he's there, I don't see how the Steelers don't take him. I had Terrell Lewis, the edge rusher out of Alabama, in a couple drafts. I had wide receiver Denzel Mims in one draft that I took just to see how it would play out. But if I took a tight end, if I took a quarterback, if I took one of those positions that I didn't really feel like the Steelers had to have, I got to the end of the draft. I'm like, I didn't draft any linemen. And I've been screaming that the Steelers do need to at least draft one lineman to try to get younger. It's tough with 6 picks. There's more positions that you think the Steelers could upgrade other than that. So, like, I thought, there's things that I think are a need that might not be. So Wes says he might cry if they draft a tight end. It would have to be late. It would have to be real late of something. I liked Troutman. And then the Steelers picked up Eric Ebron. I'm like, nope, I'm done with tight end.
Once they picked up
I'm
Ebron,
done.
that was nice to then wipe out feeling the need to take a tight end early.
Yep.
So
I'm sorry if I'm pounding the keyboard here, if you hear it.
Which, by the way, did you see I'm guessing you did see the footage of Ebron working out?
Yes, I did. I
thought the ankle was looking good. So showed that there was some strength and stability there. That was good to see.
So I'm now going to turn my focus to the live chat to try to see if I can pay attention to you all while I can. What are you looking forward to the most in the draft? There we got lifelong fan through $4.99 in the tip jar. I'll even bring it up, but there was not a comment with it. So lifelong fan 07. I will look for your next comment and I will make sure I bring it up since you were able to do that. For those of you, if you're just joining us, what the super chat feature is, that's why you type in your comment first, from what I'm told. I've never done it. Then hit that $, donate any amount you want to the show, and it will highlight your comment or question, and we will definitely bring it up. So I will see if I see what he's doing. Wes was saying, like tight end or cornerback is a position that the Steelers really wanted late, maybe if there was the right person.
Put North Top up there.
Yes, that was the next one. Today. Yes, because Jeff did that as an article that they have. To me, all these people saying the Steelers taking a quarterback with their top pick, I feel like they're kind of really out of tune with the Steelers. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just saying, so many places have quarterback as one of the top needs for the Steelers. They're all in on Ben Roethlisberger. They're not bringing in another free agent unless they're going to be on the very cheap. They're not looking to go draft a quarterback unless the right one falls to them. I'd be really surprised at that one. I just don't know. Steeler fan 74 says we have no depth at tight end. The thing is, we do have a lot at the top. So lifelong fan 07 just had one comment here that I found of him.
He gets a couple more little things in later down.
Okay, I'll get there eventually. That he said, if I see him, I'll bring it up. He says about an inside linebacker.
Because when you get further down, you go see because he really gets talking about not having really much of any depth that he liked at inside linebacker. So he'd like to get another one.
Yeah, King David's talks about a guard center, Cushenberry. When I run these mock drafts, it is so tough because they give you similar things every time, but not the same thing. There are just some players that are just so in between when it comes to the Steelers. Like someone who I feel was a reach in the second and has no chance of being there in the third. Like a lot of people are big on Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame. way down the list when the Steelers were picking in the second round, gone every time by the time they got to their pick in the third round. This could be some of these players as well. Cushenberry's a guy that I think's good. Ruiz out of Michigan, but he's probably going to be gone before they even have their first draft pick. Those are some good interior linemen that could be, depth and everything, guard, and could be ready to play center when Pouncey's done. I think that's, if the right guy's there, I'm good with that. It's funny because Michael O'Malley says, Cordell killed my spirit for years, still not healed. Give me a real quarterback, not a dual threat. So, yeah. I think I just skipped a bunch because of everything. I want to make sure I didn't lose lifelong fan. That he said that an inside linebacker obviously wouldn't start, but I agree with his next statement. We need depth there. I love Ulysses Gilbert III. He's still rehabbing. I would love to see him step up. It's not a definite. If there's certain positions that if you're going to draft it high or not at all. Running back is one of those for me. I don't think the Steelers have to take a running back, but if you're going to take one high, take one that's going to count. The Steelers don't need another 6th round running back. They got five guys that are that or better. So if you're going to do that, take it high. Now, wide receiver is not one of those positions because I just think the Steelers can find gems at that position at the end sometimes. So I would never doubt them when it came to that position. So there we go. So which is funny because we get people that are disagreeing, like Steelers Pittsburgh says a quarterback is a reach. Robert says quarterback isn't a need. But then I saw one a little bit further down, if I find it from where I went back up, that said Ben's on his last leg. We've got to have one. Doesn't mean that this is the year to do it. A lot of people are saying no to the quarterback, like even Mike W. Okay. This is a good point. So I'm going to bring this up from Ryan. Yep. Ryan, he's a regular. He says half the media doesn't even know Nelson exists and keeps saying we need another corner opposite Hayden. Yeah, I pulled that article out several weeks ago when it happened, when they said the Steelers have nobody to play across from Joe Hayden. I'm like, Steven Nelson had the better year. He just didn't have the interceptions. Yeah. So people don't know. They just don't have a clue. It was Lewis here that said that we need a quarterback. Ben's on his last leg. I think Ben is getting towards the end of it, but I don't know that this year with no first round pick. I mean, is that where we're going to find our next franchise quarterback at pick number 49? The odds are low. Probably not. So that's why this isn't the year to do that, in my opinion, just because of no first round pick. Wes said that he agreed he could see an inside linebacker in round 3 or round 4 if it's the right one. I'm like I said, if the right guy falls, I'm so looking forward to the first day of the draft with like no pressure and just kind of say, oh, they're gone, and get to the end of the night and be like,
wow, who's still there for it?
I want to look at the next 17 guys because I'm like, the Steelers have their option at one of those guys. That's just going to be how it goes. So, very interesting. So Ron said Ed Bouchette says a running back. He says that Tomlin loves those guys. That's a possibility. I'm just saying if they're there. Okay. I'm going to mess up this name, so I'm not even going to try. Says that he really likes Claypool. I think Claypool's very interesting too. I just don't know that he's the right player in round 2, and I don't know that he'd be there in round 3. If you want a late round sleeper wide receiver, I took him in this mock draft. I took him in the 2nd, 4th round pick in almost every draft that I did. And that was, I'm going to mess up the name. It's hyphenated. It's the big, tall receiver out of Liberty. Gandy's one of them. Gandy's one of the two hyphenated names. I can't remember it now, and I draft him all the time. You know what? Now I'm going to have to actually look at it. How about Gandy Golden? That's his name. I almost said Golden Gandy. That's an interesting later on kind of pick that I could, if the Steelers like him. I don't fall too much in love with wide receivers in the draft because to me, I don't feel like I have any clue who the Steelers think is the guy, but I think they're really good at finding the guy. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah. We've always been able to pull good wide receivers from, basically nowhere. Mm-hmm. Think John Stallworth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to go back, we pulled a guy, everybody's like, who? The guy's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if it weren't for Tom Brady, who would be the best sixth round pick in the NFL of this millennium? It would be Mr. Third and Fifth.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for Tom Brady, he would be the most famous sixth round pick, in my opinion. So Lewis brought up another question. I'm curious what you think about that. He's like, why wait till we desperately need a quarterback? Does anyone want to go through that?
Okay.
No,
my question right back to Lewis is, who are you taking that's going to be your next Ben Roethlisberger?
Who's going to be the guy at 49? Who's going to be the guy at 49? I mean, they're talking about.
We were lucky to get Ben Roethlisberger at pick 13.
11. Pick 11.
Sorry, I was thinking 2 years before.
Yeah, it was 11. Yep. So, yeah, exactly. So don't go out and draft a quarterback because you think we need one, because what are we going to do when Ben's gone, when that's not what we have available when we pick. Don't just pick don't do an Artie Burns. Don't get to a point where you so need a cornerback, and when the ones that you wanted are gone, you just take the next one on your list that shouldn't have been drafted there. Many people think they did the same thing with Terrell Edmonds. The other safeties were gone, and that's why they drafted him. Don't do that. Don't say, get the quarterback. That was my point with running back. That's why I've been so anti-running back, is I don't want people to be locked into, when you lock into a position, you have a terrible draft. Right. When you lock into a position that you need with your top pick, you will have a terrible draft. End of story. Unless it's more up to chance than your skill at drafting, because there's a good chance that those people aren't going to be there.
And that's why I keep saying at this draft, we don't have to have a position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Go get guys that are going to be Steelers for 10 years plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys that you're like, wow, this was a steal. And you can still get those guys at 49. That's how we got Juju. I know he didn't have the best year last year, but I'm ready to see him get back to form when he has his quarterback throwing to him. Mark says, I look forward to hearing the draft music and seeing the pick is in. Don't know that we're going to see that, because instead the first round we're going to see Roger Goodell doing it from his mom's basement. I mean, from his basement. Every time I see that statement, I got to put the word moms in there. Yeah, he's drafted from his mom's basement, because it just sounds like what you're going to do for fantasy football. Robert says we have UG3. Yes, we do. I love UG3. Are we 100% sold on UG3? And then who do we have behind him? That is also why having another inside linebacker at some point would be a really good idea. John.
You got some super chats coming up you need to get to.
Yes, I know I have at least one. I saw Kathy have one, but I'll get there.
There's one before her.
Oh, yeah, I missed that one from Sean. See, I'm going to go ahead and I said, yeah, I clicked on that one. I don't know how that came up. Okay. From Muhammad about the quarterback class this year is top heavy, meaning they're going to be there at the top, but they're not going to be there later. Here's the one super chat. This is from Sean. He says, how about a strong safety is a good one is available?
We've
my
talked
draft,
about
I
that.
took a safety in the third round is what I ended up getting there because it made sense. Who was the safety I kept taking in the third round because I thought he was a good one? Let's see. I know I got an edge rusher in the second round. Kavon Wallace. I got him in multiple drafts because he was a good safety that was still there, and I thought that was something that could fit. I think that's a good possibility of some of the top picks. Okay. It's funny because then Ezra's like, Mason isn't the quarterback of the future then. I'm not saying, let's just say this. I thought he could have been last year before he played. After he played, he has a whole lot more to prove that he could be. But I'm also not ready to say you can't, on that amount of sample size, say that somebody's definitely not at least a viable backup at some point. Doesn't mean he would be, but not necessarily. So I want to bring up the other super chat from Kathy, because she said, where was Mason in his draft? Mason Rudolph, he was in the third round. He was the first couple picks of the third round because the Steelers, that was the infamous Martavis Bryant traded draft pick that they got from Oakland.
Oh, yeah.
And then they moved. It's funny because that was really towards the front of the third round. They had just picked James Washington in the second round. And that was towards the front. But Cincinnati had back-to-back picks right before Pittsburgh in that one. And they jumped up ahead of them. They traded with Seattle to move up ahead of Cincinnati and grabbed Mason Rudolph. Which is funny because now people are like, oh, just think if they didn't. I'm telling you, so many people were just want to look at all the negatives from last year. It's not all negatives, but trust me, it wasn't all good either. So it's just interesting stuff. So I have another super chat on my phone, but it has not come up on the screen yet. There it is.
Yours refreshed.
There it is from Alfred. $1.99 in the tip jar. Thank you, Alfred. He says, our game changer is Ben. He elevates his players. I can get behind that statement 100%. I think Ben will. It's funny because some people are like, well, is one player going to fix this offense? No, but one player can make everybody else a little bit better. And everybody else being a little bit better can fix the offense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So Ben has the potential to make everyone on the offense a little bit better, and everyone on the offense being a little bit better could be enough to make a major difference. So but it's really a big guessing game for this year. It really is. So you guys have gone crazy in the live chat. I haven't been able to keep up at all. If I try, I can't even get back to where I was because those messages are gone. So it's very interesting. So I've talked about, for those of you talking about the quarterback situation, I've talked about it. I had the article that said, I really wish someone would just pick up Jameis Winston so we don't have to hear about it anymore. We all probably know the one Pittsburgh radio personality that's been screaming from the mountaintops about Winston. I broke down the numbers of what people who pay a lot for a quarterback can afford for a backup. And bottom line is, it was really interesting. Out of the 14, I'll just kind of sum up the article real quick. Out of the 14 teams that have a quarterback that costs $20 million or more against the salary cap this year, 2 of them have a high-priced backup only because one was because the Raiders just signed Mariota, and that's because they have Derek Carr. And how much do you trust Derek Carr? Then you have the Colts, who signed Phillip Rivers, but was also paying $20 million for the quarterback that they had. So they paid another amount of money for a replacement, not for a backup. Then you had 2 teams that the only reason they spent more than $2 million on their backup was because they offered them restricted free agent tenders. One was a first round, one was an original round. The first rounder was Taysom Hill and in New Orleans. The original rounder was a guy I couldn't even remember his name in Dallas. And there was only one other. Oh, and the only other team that had a $20 million salary cap guy at quarterback on the roster, and someone else making more than $2 million was the Redskins, because they have Alex Smith, who's the $20 million plus guy,
right. Yep.
who's still injured. And the only other reason is their other quarterback, who is now Haskins for now, is more than $2 million, but he's their actual quarterback. So when you look at it, out of all those, it was two free agent tenders and Oakland are the only teams who brought in a backup who they are paying more than $2 million towards the salary cap. And that's why it doesn't make sense when you pay that much money for your starting thing. So I just kind of went off to explain that a little bit. So let's not talk about quarterback. Let's get back to the draft, right?
Yep.
Okay. Anything you want to say?
Nope.
Lots of people talking about.
Oh yeah, I'm
quarterback.
trying to shuffle through the chat here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Maybe I should go back to it. You know what? This is what I'm going to say again. If you have a good question, now's the time. I am now at a new spot on the live chat where I can start looking again. I just threw a question mark up in there. Anything that you say after that question mark, I'll make sure I look at it in order from what I'm going from right now.
Oh, there was a good question.
Here we go. George Rice asked one two before.
That's the one I was hoping you'd bring up.
GM on the clock. I think this is almost impossible because you have to predict who's there. I mean, I really don't know who's going to be there. I mean, if you gave me a list of these 5 players are there, which one you take in, I could do that.
This would be easy if we were picking 13, 14, 15, but we're not. We're picking 49?
Yeah, 49. I would love to be able to say that. Let's just say there's a few key, if there's a really good offensive tackle that drops, I'm okay with them drafting that.
I'm okay with that.
If one of those running backs I've mentioned,
one of those 3 running backs is there,
I'm okay with that. Even though you guys know I'm not a big gotta have a running back guy, but I'm okay with one of those. If, like I said, a really good inside linebacker drops, like Queen did in the one mock draft I did, I'm snagging that as fast as I can. Or a really good edge rusher. If there's a really good edge rusher that's right there, I'd even take that. And I've said before, people think we need upgrades at the offense. I still think that we draft just as much, if not more, on defense because of needing depth. So that's a good question, but the better time to answer that question is Friday afternoon after the first 32 picks are done.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, now we can look at where it's sitting there. Great question, George. I just don't know that I can give you a good answer. So another one that was right above that question that was from Alfred. He's like, is it better to not live in our fears and avoid overpaying for a backup quarterback? Okay, I haven't seen it work out except for the one exception with Foles. That's what I said to Lance Williams. I said, if you go out and think you got to spend, $9 million against a salary cap for a backup quarterback, that's living in your fears.
Yep.
That's living in your fears. And yes, you should be cautious with Ben Roethlisberger coming back. But
right, there's a lot of folks out there living in their fears because of what happened last year.
Yes.
I've tried to just set last year totally aside. Never happened. Mm-hmm. And deal with just what I have going right now.
Okay. Rich, you can answer this one. Okay. Who you rather have, Neil O'Donnell or Mason Rudolph?
Well, what I really want to say is I'd rather have Mason Rudolph because, Neil O'Donnell was able to take a guy who was terrible named Larry Brown and turn him into a Super Bowl MVP and make him a bunch of money.
Yeah.
One game, and I just,
can't
deal with that anymore.
Neil O'Donnell was not a bad quarterback, honestly. No. He gets a lot of, but once again, like Brian Anthony Davis says he thinks Neil O'Donnell was a great quarterback. Jeff Hartman despises him. That's his Steeler hater hat on, but it's a lot like the fan base. What do? We do like to focus on those negatives. We really do. That's why everyone thinks Juju has a fumbling problem when he's only fumbled twice in his career.
My whole thing there with Neil O'Donnell in that game is all he had to be in that game was Trent Dilfer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was worse than Trent Dilfer.
That's pretty bad. So
there you go.
Yep. But I'm saying right now, I'm saying Neil O'Donnell, but I'm still saying it's at least another year or two before you really know for sure what you could
Exactly.
possibly have with Rudolph because of where he was. And I'm sorry, not all big. I mean, even Patrick Mahomes coming out of the Big 12 needed a season before he was ready to go because that's coming from the Big 12.
Yep.
Lewis seems to be coming around a little bit. He says, yeah, that's true. Hopefully he starts fast this year, though, since he's all healthy. That's the hope. The Steelers have all their eggs in the Ben Roethlisberger basket. They do. So here we go. Joey, this is an easy one.
Joey.
Who has more receiving yards? Switzer or
Not
Ebron?
answering that, Joey. Come on.
Here's an interesting thing, and we've kind of mentioned this before. Do we feel that Sutton can play safety and Edmonds and dime linebacker? I could see that happening specifically in sub package, but I would still see Edmonds being on the field as the other safety.
Correct.
In
so
base.
Yes.
But so you bring in Sutton, who played some safety in college, and he can kind of play anywhere in the secondary. I really like Cam Sutton as a player. His problem is I don't want him to be so versatile that he ends up not getting any playing time, which is funny because some people would prefer that. Still getting lots of comments about, oh, we need Wisniewski to not start because he's our backup guard and center. Well, if he's your backup guard and he's gives you a better option and to then kick Filer to tackle, and that's going to give you your best lineup, you don't hold him out of the lineup because he's your backup.
No.
You play your best five. So
I like that one.
Yes, Michael says I think some people forget the 80s and 90s where we were always a quarterback away.
You can say that, but what kind of quarterback were we away? See, when you stop and look, and again, I hate to bring it up. I'm going to bring up that purple team from down east here. Look at what they won their 2 Super Bowls with a quarterback. Okay, Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Okay. That's in the 80s and 90s. There were times where we had teams with defenses so good. That's all we needed at quarterback. And it's sad that we couldn't quite even get that.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Unless you've got, I'm even going to just say a top 5 quarterback, every team that doesn't win a championship thinks that if we just had a better quarterback.
Then you're correct.
That's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
So let's go, and I'll finally get his name right this time. Kelvin Colbert. He says, I truly think we need another safety like Winfield Jr. I think you're right. I think we could use another safety. If not, then I do think Cam Sutton could possibly do that. But what happens if he gets called into action at corner? Lots of other things. This NFL is crazy. Okay. Robert says, I want a player that can help us to a Super Bowl this season. I don't know you're going to get that in this year's draft without a first-round pick because, I mean, you're hoping they can contribute, but I don't know that we're drafting any starters. I don't know that we're drafting any starters.
Well, so we might not need a starter to help us get to the Super Bowl.
Oh, exactly. We
might just need a few depth pieces, certain role players, and things like that might be all we need. So
I want to bring this one up from Ali.
Yep.
Because a lot of people have said the speed receiver, we got to open up the field. In the Mock Draft Monday article that I had, obviously on Monday, there were some people saying someone mocked the wide receiver from USC to the Steelers, Pittman Jr. And some people are like, I don't like it because this isn't the speed receiver that we need. Someone brought up the comment. They're like, who says we need a speed receiver? Fans. The Steelers have never said that. Doesn't mean that it's not true, but sometimes we get so convinced by what other people that aren't inside the organization say that we need, even some of these NFL experts saying we need a quarterback, that we forget what are the Steelers actually thinking. A speed receiver would be great, but I don't know if that's definitely it would be helpful. It would be. But I'm only brought that up because that was something someone specifically said about that kind of receiver. So speed would help, but if that's not what you have, then that's not what you can do. Okay. I like this one. This is a good one. Let's see if it actually comes. Oh, it skipped.
Which
I knew
one
that
were
was
you
going to
going
happen. I'll bring it out. It was Sean. I'm just going to have to skip ahead.
Maybe we can trade a third and a fifth to get a number one receiver.
Yeah, he said maybe we
I thought that was
trade
pretty
a
funny
third
too.
and a fifth for a number one receiver. I actually
want you to bring up the one right after that.
I don't know that I can get back to it. I'm going to try.
Then
who's it from?
It's from Rod Young. He says, Dave, you keep referring to the right guy. What makes a guy the right guy? Oh. We'd have to wait at least 2 years. I have my answer to that is, I'm going right back. Believe it or not, I really enjoyed Tony's story that I had read about him talking about drafts when he was a kid and being disappointed and the trust now that he has in the organization. I want to look back at this draft years from now and say, you know what? We didn't have a first round pick, but look at this. We've got 3 guys that 8 years from now are still on the Steelers team and contributing. And maybe you get lucky and you get a couple guys that are Pro Bowl caliber players. Like the one that Tony brought up in his story was Carnell Lake. The Steelers as an organization were kind of crucified for taking Carnell Lake. Well, what are you going to do with that guy? He's a linebacker, but he's too small to play linebacker in the NFL, blah, 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 blah. We turn him into a safety.
Yeah.
A Pro Bowl safety. The guy was so talented, then when Rod Woodson gets hurt, we slide him over and play corner because that's what we needed, and he could do it, Now, to me, that's the right guy. I can't necessarily tell you who the right guy is. I'm trusting the organization to have a good idea and who the right guy is.
Yes. We can all sit here and talk all we want, but guess what? This isn't our job. I don't think I haven't talked to the players. I haven't watched the films that the scouting department is. I mean, think of all the people doing this work for the Steelers and all coming together. Even if we just took the entire live chat and every single person, all they did for a living was break down college players in order to come up with the best draft, we're still not going to be as good as what the Steelers are. That's just the fact. So we can talk about it all we want and it's fun, but ultimately they know much more than we do, and that is okay. I'm going to bring up Wes's comment.
And they're the ones whose heads will roll if it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can sit here and say who we could take, and if they took those guys and they're bad, no skin off our nose.
Yep. He gave us 5 names. I don't even know if you're going to know them all. He says, who you taking? I'm assuming he means here in the second round. You're going to type there. I'm going to tell you right now, I can never say his name right. Tyler, the guard center from Wisconsin. In my one mock draft, I like him, but you know where I got him in my one mock draft? Fourth round.
Yeah.
4th round. He's kind of dropped. If the Steelers could I'd take him in the 3rd, even there. Of those people on the board, probably he's tempting me. Claypool was interesting, but I don't know about in the 2nd. I would probably be between Weaver and Wilson, probably. If I had to, and I have to look into him a little bit more.
And again, I'm looking at those guys. Everybody say, "Oh, Akers." Okay, not if I see those other 2 guys.
Yeah,
if they're all on the board, I think you got it right. I'm going with it. For me, it's a tough choice between Weaver and Wilson.
Gotcha. Because I think that the guard center could be there in the next round. But who knows? Maybe other people jump up on him. That's all based on like 2 different websites that are there combining. For all we know, he goes in the 1st round. Then watch it. Muhammad says, if it comes up, who would you rather want? A speed demon like KJ Hamler or a tall, lanky receiver like Claypool?
It's not about who
That's a
I
good
want.
question. Yeah.
But see, to me, that's not about who I want.
I don't honestly, although he's super fast, I'm not big on another 5'9" receiver. But if the Steelers think it's going to fit in with what they want to do, then I'm glad they take him. If they think, oh, if we could get that tall guy that we really need, although I still kind of think Ebron could kind of work out for them in the red zone in that role.
I do too.
That they don't have to go there. There's just the Steelers have enough question marks with some of the people that they have on their team right now that the draft is going to kind of tell us how they might want to use them.
Yeah.
So very interesting. So we're getting some good stuff. We got lots of people answering the one question. O'Donnell, King David says for Wes, I'm taking the center. Like I said, that center in some places I've seen has really dropped. I don't know. Now we're getting lots of comments on the O'Donnell Rudolph question. That was great.
Sorry, I still have nightmares going back to that Super Bowl.
I'm going to bring this up just because, but Alfred said, it's important to just remember how bad Goff was his rookie year. Compare that to Rudolph's rookie year, meaning first year playing and dressing, and things don't look too bad for Rudolph. Still give him time. Let's just say this. It would have been nice after 2019 to have a definitive answer on Rudolph, but you don't. Some people feel like you have to have a definitive answer on Rudolph, so their answer is he sucks. And that's not the right assessment because it's not enough to draw a conclusion. Now, you have another year like that and any chance that he would have in 2020, then you definitely have a much different body of work to look at. And then I could say that. I think the biggest thing with that is that the verdict is out. A lot of people like that. So we're going to do just a couple more here. Chances are people have already asked stuff that I'm not even going to get to because you guys have been so wonderful with this. If you have anything that you want here at the last minute, probably the only way I'm going to see it for sure is if it's a super chat.
Hey, I got one that's out here for me. Get back 10:30 p.m. Thanks, Mean Joe asked me a question.
Thanks, Mean Joe at 10:30.
Yep,
I see it, big bro.
Yep. All right. Do you think Benny can carry the load at running back if called upon? I am very comfortable with Benny Snell as the number 2 running back behind James Conner. I really think you could see the potential is there to see a big jump in Benny's game in year 2. Going to be interested to see what he comes in looking like at the start of camp. Really, what's worrying me a little bit about him right now is not being there for off-season program because everything going on with COVID-19 right now.
Yeah,
if he was there in the building a lot right now, I'd feel extremely comfortable with him as the number 2 running back. I think there were times last year where he showed flashes that he could carry the load if need be. So I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I'm glad you asked me. They probably know my answer. I love Benny Snell. I think when they gave him the ball last year, the more carries he got, the better he was. The more carries he got in a game, the better he was. I still talk about that Week 17 game in the rain, how hard he ran, how well he did. People weren't giving him credit for that, especially in the rain. The Ravens were just, they were resting some guys, but they were really wanting to just stop the run, and he still ran quite well on them. If it wasn't for a complete debacle by Hodges to hand them a late touchdown in the first half, and then of course our wonderful punter giving them another one, that game that was a much closer game than what people realize. And the biggest reason they were still winning early, especially early, was because of Benny Snell, which was going to bring up a couple things real quick. Ryan Kellerman said, I heard this, did you? That Faust is no longer the color guy with Iron Eagle. He got fired. Did you hear that one?
I did not hear that one.
Yep, he did.
About flipping time.
I'm good with that. So
because I've never thought Dan Faust was a good color guy.
Nah, I didn't either. He's like,
it was hilarious. Oh, by the way, it was hilarious in the movie The Water Boy Like
Mhm.
he was probably better in that movie
because
than
he was
wasn't real football.
yeah,
So,
because he was being himself, probably.
yeah.
Yeah, he was better at that one. Just, if only they could script all the games for him. So Barry at punter.
Right now, probably.
Mm-hmm. Um,
They
that's
probably bring in a
mhm.
a couple guys to see if anybody pushes him, and maybe somebody surprises him. We don't, but
Yeah. I'm saying when it comes to that with punter, oh, my live chat's going to skip. I can feel it. When it comes to punter, it's his job until they can get someone in there to beat him. So they really need to bring in someone to give him the competition. He had a good year last year until he didn't, until it fell apart. 3/4 of the season, he had a pretty good year, I would even
if we
say.
had just stopped after 12 games, we'd have been okay.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. So some people are saying about Benny Snell. It skipped ahead on me. I know even some people were saying Alfred, I think, said he thinks Snell could be the starter. Kathy loves Benny. I got to say that because Kathy, she's one of our regulars. She's like, agree, Dave, love Benny. But we'll see. I mean, he could come out and not be the guy. I'm not saying he has to be. I just think there's a lot of potential there.
Unless,
So,
sure, we all like him, okay, but we know the hater hates him.
oh, of course he does. And that's part of the thing. Some people, keep saying Benny, no Jets. I'm like, watch the games, Lance. Oh, I've watched every play of the all 22. Yeah, but sometimes I wonder if you understand what you're watching. No offense, Lance. I still love you. But because, when I go back and see it, I'm like, I'm not drawing the same conclusions. Just because you watch film doesn't mean you can break it down. But I do think Lance can break down a lot of stuff pretty good. But he could watch a play, I could watch a play, and Flip could watch a play, and we could all three have different conclusions from it. It's just how it goes. Because Wes says Benny Snell is like Rocky Balboa. The more he gets hit, the angrier, more dangerous he becomes. That was true in 2019. Let's see what happens in 2020 if that's still the case. Because I do like it. He really did pound the ball hard at the end of games when the Steelers needed him. So some good stuff. We've gone really long tonight on this show, and that's okay because we told you all we were going to give you this time with the live chat because we didn't get to it much the last couple of weeks.
Other weeks they blow up the live chat. Like a lot of weeks, you're trying to keep there, and you're trying to do whatever, and I'm trying to keep up. I couldn't even keep up tonight. They were just blowing it up.
Oh, I know. You guys were fantastic. So wonderful, wonderful stuff. I can tell Steelers Nation, especially behind the steel curtains fan base, they're excited about this draft. I think, as I said to start the show, I think a lot of people really do feel the way I do, and that is, give me the names of the Steelers because I want to get excited about them. I'm trying to hold back with some other stuff. I want to find out who they are for sure, so I can really get excited. So when you see me going on live chats after the draft, you're probably going to see me get excited about picks. It's as much because I now know who I can start to look at and break down. Was why I get excited. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So want to thank you all. Just want to give you a reminder that we have our podcasts coming every day. Most of them are in the evening, not always. But that's just how it is. Tomorrow night will be around the same time, usually with Jeff and Lance doing the flagship podcast, The Standard is the Standard. Thursday night, we're around the same time again on the Steelers preview with myself and Brian Anthony Davis and Jeff Hartman. Friday is Lance. He's been going a little bit earlier with that to make it easier on the West Coast because he's either got to go really early or really late. So he's been going a little bit earlier on Fridays. Saturday's burning question. I'm fairly certain it's Brian Anthony Davis, but he jumped on with Lance last week, so I don't know if that messed everything up. Sunday, we're back with the Homer and the Hater again. Monday, there's a special thing that Brian and Tony are doing on Monday where they are doing a draft in the live chat. And they are going to have usernames that they pull out of the hat, and you're going to make that pick in the live draft. But in order to get your name in the hat, you've got to email Brian. I'm pretty sure it's BADavis889 at gmail.com. I'm not 100% sure. You need to go back and watch or listen to their show from yesterday to get that for sure if you need to. And then you can get in on that action next Monday. We'll be back next Tuesday. Things are going to then change up next week because we'll have draft coverage stuff going on. Really excited about it. Really happy about the news. Want to see who these Steelers are. Get them going with their virtual OTAs that they're going to be having if they can't have regular OTAs this offseason. It's just what it is. So, yeah. Anything else you want to say, bro?
No, just lots of fun as usual. I look forward to Tuesday nights.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This is just, not only is it a lot of fun to be with everyone else, it's a lot of fun to be together. But even if you and I were just talking, it's not the same without. We get to know you guys in the live chat. It's great. You guys turn around. Yeah, I know there's a Ravens fan. He's putting time out. Sorry, it took me a while to find him, but he's not commenting right now anymore, guys. To the end of the show. So I don't mind if fans from other teams come in and talk. Just don't be jerks.
Don't be trolls.
So,
he was trolling.
Don't be trolls. Don't be trolls. We take care of that. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you're checking out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Make sure you are liking the videos and giving good ratings on the podcast. And the most importantly, make sure you tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Thanks for geeking out with us.